week in racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of their shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last thoughts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is The Magic Mike Show, Mr. Somich.
Mike Short, huzzah!
Yeah,
I get this adjusted here.
I was gonna say I'll move mine up because you're in new surroundings again. You left the island life behind for a little bit.
Well, I got that little stop over here before we're headed up to Saratoga next week. So just kind of living that road trip life. I gotta say, the puppy and the daughter are absolutely loving it. We stayed in a Royal Hotel with a big old pool the last couple days. So Lily was super excited about that. Zoe was not allowed in the pool, so she wasn't as excited about it. But she loves hotel rooms because she just runs in and jumps immediately on whatever bed she wants to jump on, and that is her bed for that whole trip.
That's awesome. I remember doing that as an only child growing up. It was that way for me too, or at least I tried to. My dad would usually. I learned later it depended solely on if I had the bed that was closest to the air conditioning register. My dad, as I've become an old man now, like him, your body, probably you too, your body heat gets a lot warmer, and so like the closest I am to the AC is just that's perfect, and that's what he wanted to.
Well, really, everyone's happier that way because then I don't turn the AC on 59, right? Like if I'm further away from it, I got to crank that thing way down just to get that air to me, and everyone in between me and that AC is freezing.
I thought you were going to say a different F word, but yes, also freezing in that sense. Mike, listen, aside from the new surroundings, we have the final weekend, because as you mentioned, Saratoga opens soon. Final weekend at Belmont Park. I haven't been following racing long enough to say that this is the best Belmont Derby, Belmont Oaks ever. This is the best ever since I've been following. These two fields, I mean, we've got 10 in the Oaks, 13 in the Derby, lots of Europeans coming over. This is an exciting sequence, buddy.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Breeders' Cup races, to be honest with you, because we're not getting like the B team anymore. We're getting like the A- team now coming over from Europe for these races. So you're getting significantly better Europeans coming in. You can see that more American trainers are now pointing to these races. Like, going to give Kenny McPeak credit here. Clearly said, I want to make sure Tiz the Bomb is going to fire a shot here and see what we can do in this spot and leading him up to this race. So it's interesting to see U.S. trainers specifically targeting these races. And then European trainers taking the time and the effort to figure out who they're going to have run in there because they want to go after these massive purses.
Are we sure Kenny McPeak was targeting the race before a week ago? Are we sure?
You know what? I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's also got Classic Causeway in there.
Who raced a week ago?
Well, I benefit of the doubt. There was a whole plan that just make sure Classic Causeway is fresh. Don't tip your hand on Tiz the Bomb, the Breeders' Cup fake champion. Make sure that you have your route here to go to give them the best possible chance.
The best part about that could very well be true for what Kenny McPeak has been thinking. That was not a joke. But we have a big show, the Belmont Park, late pick 5, Saturday, July 9th. I forgot what month we're in. July 9th, Mike. Let's get into it, buddy. Riders up. You're supposed to talk. This is your turn.
Oh, yeah, that was my thing. My bad. Hey, if you're looking for a place to play the Belmont Late Pick 5 this Saturday, go over and check out our friends over at BetPTC.com. Sign up with the promo code DUDES. Get a $200 cash bonus after you bet. $750 into your account. And don't forget to play King of the Hill this weekend. We're midway through Season 2. You got a shot at a free BCBC seat. All you got to do is when you make a bet, click the little contest button up on the wager form. That'll push you into the contest. As long as you bet $200 on Saturday, you're eligible to win a BCBC seat as long as you score enough points.
Boom, and you can join Mike Somich and Dr. Tang at the BCBC for that fun. But Mike, leg 1 of the Late Pick 5 Saturday, July 9th. What a way to start this off. The Grade 1 Belmont Oaks, 10 3-year-old fillies going a mile and a quarter on the inner turf. 6 of these born overseas. 5 of them are coming from overseas. 3 of them are with Chad Brown. You talk about American trainers targeting this. Chad Brown seems really pissed off. He hasn't won this enough times. So, Mike, where are you going on top?
I'm going to start out hot here. Look, I was trying to figure out how to structure this sequence because I thought this was a very deep sequence. And so I'm going to spend $54 on my ticket here. I'm probably going to spend more on Saturday on the Somobomb's ticket. That'll probably be around $145, somewhere in that range, maybe $135 when I kind of structure it. Because of that $54 price tag, I'm going to kind of suggest some horses and some later legs I don't use on my ticket that I think are worth adding, or you could add if you want to do that. I'm going to start out by singling the 10 Concert Hall here. I mean, one of the things that we've talked about is that you really have to respect the heck out of Appleby and O'Brien, all of the O'Brien clan, when they ship horses overseas. And specifically here with O'Brien and Moore, one thing that I thought was really interesting about Concert Tour is the fact that this is the exact same path that we've seen Moore used to bring over past champions who've actually turned around and won this race. So the last 2 years, he's had the winner of this race. Both years, he set it up exactly the same way, running them in the Pretty Poly first. So you had both Santa Barbara and Athena come from the Pretty Poly, come over here, running this race, fire big shots. Feels like he's got the idea of what he wants to do to build this horse up and get this horse to run its A-plus effort. I'm going to go with Concert Hall, single to start this thing out and try and get a 3-1 shot home and blow this ticket up.
So you and I are both taking shots early, singling. I singled in the next leg, which I think, not 10 horses, still somehow a little bit riskier, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Yeah, Concert Hall was my second pick, and we're talking like 1-1A here. I think until the end when I structured my ticket finally, I'm like, I was too deep. I ended up finally going 3 deep, but I love Concert Hall. Everything you said about her is right on point. You got to think that Aiden and Joseph O'Brien and Charlie Appleby, the horses they bring over, they've been doing this long enough. They know which horses in their barns need this kind of American, kind of firmer turf, and which ones will suit the American style of racing better, too. Because remember, there's a lot of speed in American racing that they're not necessarily used to out of the gate early. So, yeah, definitely love Concert Hall here. You brought up all great points. The one that is my top pick is Charlie Appleby's. It's the 4 With the Moonlight. This is a horse that was very highly regarded from the moment she debuted when she was a 2-year-old. Now she's going to be third off the layoff here at age 3. We're getting Frankie Dettori aboard for the first time. He came over 3 times, he came over to race with Charlie Appleby last year. They had 3 starts together. They won all 3 of them. They were all grade 1 races on the turf. So they know what they're doing when they team up together in North America. The new free agent, Frankie Dettori, right? Because he and John Gosden kind of went split. So, hey, why not jump on with Godolphin and Charlie Appleby? Appleby is sorry. Go ahead, Mike. I'm talking a lot. Go ahead. Yeah,
not a bad place to land. I mean, this is a daughter of Frankel out of a DeBowie mare, just absolutely regally bred, and that's one of the things that pops out to you when you look at these horses. I mean, Concert Hall is a DeBowie, or daughter of DeBowie out of a Galileo mare. I mean, some of the breeding for this distance is just so phenomenal and so above and beyond what we have in the U.S. here. It's hard to pick other horses in this spot, just to be totally honest, because of the level of racing that they have faced over in Europe and the way that they are bred. It's tough to shy away from some of these horses. I had the 4 as my second choice with the Moonlight. I was originally 3 deep here as well. I ended up again singling Concert Hall. Who was your third horse? I did go to an American with my third horse, although I think you can make a nice case for the 9 horse here if you want to.
Well, you asked who I use in your spot. I'm just kidding. The 9 horse, Agartha. I like to say Agartha because it's like a little southern drawl, even though this is an Irish horse. Agartha for Joseph O'Brien gets John Velasquez aboard. If you remember last year in the Saratoga Oaks, Joseph O'Brien brought over a horse that didn't really look like was a win contender on paper, and John Velasquez got in the saddle and they won the Saratoga Oaks at a very juicy price.
17-1.
Yeah, off of a 20-1 morning line. It was just a horse was completely ignored. For Agartha, aside from the connections here, you have a horse that has the elite breeding here. Caravaggio, you know this because you love to play Ascot and Caravaggio horses, elite sprint sire. But what you have with the Dylan Thomas Dam sire, this is a horse that won the Grade 1 Arc de Triomphe, the horse that excelled at best at 10 furlongs, which is what we're going to be running here. This, to me, feels like a horse that's going to have enough speed to be in it early with the Americans. Velasquez can decide if he wants to go to the lead or kind of sit off a little bit with the 4 horse, and then has that distance pedigree from the Dam side that I think really makes her quite sneaky here.
Yeah, look, if I ended up singling somewhere else, I was planning on going 4 deep in this spot. The 9 horse would have been the 4th on the ticket for me. I think Concert Hall has her covered. That's the main reason why I was thinking in that manner, and that I feel like I have the 1 to the 9's 2, right? I agree with our friend here, Nick Feldman. I think McCulloch's a little interesting on the rail. That would be the 3rd horse that I would use if I went 3 deep here. I think that's the one American that's in here with a shot. I like the fact that she took a nice step forward second time out, stretching out a little bit at Churchill. You go back and watch that race. She wasn't awesome, but she was getting better. And this is a daughter of Frank Hill as well. This has more of that European breeding that Kalleward decided to bring over. And so when you look at how this horse is bred, she's bred more like a European horse. I think she's going to love every bit of the distance. There's some tactical speed from the rail there as well. You get Irad aboard. To me, McCulloch is the horse that's kind of dangerous because I don't want to pick a U.S. horse that is trying to beat the Europeans at closing. I want to pick the U.S. horse who's going to be forwardly placed, gets first run, and they have to come catch. To me, that's the one horse McCulloch. I agree with you. The 9 Agatha is usable as well, and most likely, and is the most logical third European horse to use if you're going 3 deep.
McCulloch, my issue with her, and this could very well be that maybe she didn't take to the Churchill turf. That was an issue for a lot of horses, right? I'm worried that she's a little bit of a hanger. That she's had 3 chances where the Miss Girl will actually give her a pass because I know she got an extremely wide trip in just her second career start. But those 2 races at Churchill, I thought that she should have been able to get the job done, especially in the regret. I understand the Edgewood. You were there. You saw New Year's Eve. Looked fantastic. Who's in this race as well? We're getting third off the layoff. McCulloch, if I'm playing exacta trifecta super, she's everywhere underneath. She's just not in that top spot for me.
That's fair. I mean, I'm assuming that the distance is going to give her a step forward. I think that yes. Mile and 1/8 was a little short. She was starting to grind there. I think the 1 1/4 is what she wants. I think this is the first time she gets it. And again, the tactical speed to me, especially with the way Belmont's turf has been playing the last 2 weeks, which has been very forward favoring, it makes her a little bit more interesting in this spot as someone who I think is going to go overlooked for a pretty talented horse. I think it's 8-1 morning line or 6-1 morning line. You're going to get every bit of that on a Chad Brown, Irad Ortiz, Klarevich horse because of the other contention in here.
Well, in one of 3 Chad Browns, you've got 6-1. McCulloch's the best price on the morning line. Haughty's 5-1, and Consumer Spending's 5-1. And that's the one that's, to me, is the sneakiest of the Chad Browns because it's Manny Franco. When you've got Pratt and Irad riding the other 2, we've seen this multiple times in these big Grade 1 races. Manny Franco is a damn good rider when you give him a Chad Brown horse, right?
Yeah, and he would be the second Chad to me. I don't like Howdy at all in this spot. That would be the one Brown that I would be kind of fading. The numbers aren't there. I don't think the last couple of races were as good. Consumer Spending obviously has the back class as well. I mean, this is a horse that they put in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies turf. So they thought a lot of this horse, and Howdy was in there as well. But that first race at Penn Oaks just left me something to be desired, even though it was a pretty easy win. It was against absolutely nothing. And now this is second off. Big time step up. Consumer Spending to me I need to see more, and I just haven't seen it yet. And that to me is the biggest issue, is that you feel like she's had chance after chance after chance to kind of show that awe-inspiring performance, and it just never kind of came out. And that's not what you want from Chad Brown horses. You want that turn of foot that's devastating.
You know what you don't want if you're Chad Brown is the news that Joseph O'Brien is going to have a string at Saratoga this summer. Not supposed to be a big string, but I don't think it needs to be. I think Joseph O'Brien's going to have the right horses to bring our. I think that's pretty awesome that Coolmore is like, let's send some horses and just plant them in New York and see how many of these Grade 1 big money races we can win.
Follow the money, baby. If you make these purses big enough, you're going to get those European horses to start coming over here. It gets a lot more fun.
Let's move on. Second leg of the late pick 5 at Belmont Park. Saturday, July 9th, race 8 is the Grade 3 Victory Ride Stakes. You got 7 3-year-old fillies going 6.5 furlongs on the dirt. And Mike, when 6 of the 7 entered, looked like they all want to go to the front early. What the hell do you do?
Man, you consider the 7 on top at 8-1, even though she's an inferior horse. That's what you do. I mean, Sterling Silver took a really long look for me because she's the one horse that wants to close, and Happy Soul has a ton of speed. It's a Ward Velasquez horse. That horse is sending. Pretty Birdie, probably the fastest of all these horses, 100% sending. Even Stand Up Comic on the rail wants to go if you end up here instead of at Delaware. It's funny. I'm not gonna spoil it here. I could. We both have the same top pick, and you're singling. So I think it's kind of interesting. I'll let you talk about this. I actually saw this horse in person and bet a large amount on this horse in a contest last time out.
Oh, last time out. I thought you were going to say her debut. The number 2 smash ticket for Todd Fincher debuts at Lone Star, loses to Wicked Halo, multiple stakes winner since then. Smash ticket goes to Del Mar, is favored to win her debut at Del Mar, where you've got the D'Amatos and the Bafferts and the Sadlers and all that. And she won very impressively, goes to Grade 2 Sorrento. If you watch that race, you'll go bald, if you better, because you just pull your hair out watching her. It's insane how bad that trip was. But she, to me, is the horse that, like I said, 6 of the 7 here look like they want early speed. She's the one of those 6 that I trust the most to be able to rate and still get the job done. Mike Smith being aboard can be a little iffy for me. But I think he'll see a pace duel. He'll go, let them go off. Todd Fincher actually said that, I think, in the DRF article. They'll just let the front runners do the dirty work. And when you hear that, let everybody do the dirty work, you go, got it. 6.5 instead of 6. I think that's the ticket, Mike.
Well, the fact this is 6.5 makes this race really difficult. I mean, that's the other part of it, because like Happy Soul, Pretty Birdie, Hot Peppers, they can get 6 without a problem if they're burning up front. If all 3 of them decide to go, then it gets a little more funky, especially that final half furlong. Look, Todd Fincher's not as well known as some of these other trainers. Very good horseman. Does very well at Sam Houston, does very well at Lone Star. You don't see him ship to Del Mar very often. He knew what he had. I mean, that tells you, okay, I have a runner here. That's why that horse went to Del Mar. I want to be part of the ship and win. I want to go into a bigger stakes purse. I don't want to waste my maiden special weight in a $30,000 purse. I want to go after a bigger purse with it. All of that was apparent. This horse came back and was bet down hard at Lone Star. That was the tournament day or tournament weekend at Lone Star, and looked like a frickin' monster. Now, didn't face much, but man, that horse had run all day. And the fact that we're going to go ahead and say, okay, we had we picked a pretty tough spot to try and break our maiden when we go to Del Mar. We went right into a grade 2. Now we're going to ship out from that Lone Star and we're going to go right to Belmont and see what happens here. Tells you everything you need to know about Smash Ticket. I mean, Smash Ticket's going to be ready to roll here. You're going to get the best effort. I love the fact that first race, Chasing Wicked Halo, she closed. She was further back. The Sorrento, she closed. She didn't win those races, but she at least showed the ability to make up ground. That last half furlong should be her half furlong, as well as the 7 Sterling Silvers, and give them a chance to go and catch whoever is going to outlast the other 2 in this speed duel.
Yeah, by the way, the 7 Sterling Silver, initially when I was doing my ticket, I thought I would be too deep, and that's the other horse that I would use here for the pace collapse scenario that we're talking about. I was initially for my on top, because they're 5-2, 2-1, couldn't use both. I did like your other horse here, Pretty Birdie. She's a 2-1 favorite, but I think the big angle for you probably is that she's cutting back from 7 furlongs and not embarrassing herself at 7 furlongs.
No, I mean, she lost to Wicked Halo and Matarea the last 2 starts. That ain't bad, man. And she was faster than both of them. I think Pretty Birdie is the speed of the speed. And when you have a speed duel that's going to develop, take the fastest horse, okay? Don't take the second or third fastest horse. Just take the fastest horse. That's the easiest way to do it if you're going to play one of the speeds. I don't think Hot Peppers can keep up with Happy Soul and with Pretty Birdie. I think Pretty Birdie is faster than Happy Soul. I wish Pretty Birdie was inside of Happy Soul. It would make me feel even better about this, because I don't really want Pretty Birdie too wide with like a length or half a length ahead of Happy Soul, who's right on the rail on your inside. But I still think Pretty Birdie is your fastest horse here. So I'm going to take your speed. I'm going to take who I believe is your most talented horse, Smash Ticket. I'm going to take who this race sets up the best for, which is Sterling Silver, which is coming out of longer races, and it has the ability to close.
Makes all perfect sense, especially with singling in that first leg. Yeah, love the way that you structured this ticket. See if it hits. Third leg now of the late pick 5 at Belmont Park. Mike, I guess this is the feature, although the Oaks is pretty damn good too. The grade 1 $1 million Belmont Derby. You've got 13 3-year-old boys going a mile and a quarter on the inner turf course. Line them up. Who you got? This is a great field.
This is a great field. I'm going to take a shot here. I'm going to put the 8 horse Royal Patronage on top at 12-1. A little bit spicy here, but I think if you look back and look at what this horse did, and it debuts as a 3-year-old, runs very well in a grade 1. Corobus and Native Trail we both saw at come back at Royal Ascot. Corobus won at Royal Ascot. I believe Native Trail won at Royal Ascot as well. May have been somewhere else though, but the 2 of them both came back, ran well there. So that's a very good race. Takes a step forward next time out. Improves on that first time 4 number in the grade 2 Dante Stakes, misses to Desert Crown by 3 lengths. Okay. Now, the next race is the one why you're going to get 12-1. In the Kazoo Derby, just doesn't run a step, right? Just draw a line through that race. That's kind of my take on it. You were only 3 lengths behind the winner. Now you're 28 lengths back. It wasn't your day. But because of that, you're now getting a horse that is starting to kind of get that progression going and be able to now have 4th off the layoff, come over here, starting to build up that 3-year-old stamina, land in a good spot. And I like the fact that you get Rosario, who's a jockey who knows this track very well. There is a ton of pace in here. Well, not a ton, but there's a good amount of pace in here for a mile and a quarter race. I think Rosario, this is one of the horses I want him on. This is where you could see him get a really nice trip and have a big time close on a horse that should take to the ground, should like the added distance. And if you go back to that race 2 back, I think is good enough to win.
Yeah, absolutely. I went 4 deep here, and I went all Europeans, but I definitely like Royal Patronage. All great points that you brought up. Something I want to say now, because they're going to be commonly brought up or discussed here. 2 horses that you need to know about in European racing. Desert Crown, who is the king of the 3-year-olds on turf in Great Britain, and Vadini, who is the king of the 3-year-olds on turf in France. And both of those horses, very important here. You're going to see them show up in the past performances here, like you do for Royal Patronage. Yeah, all great points there. My top pick, this shouldn't surprise anybody, Nation's Pride, Charlie Appleby horse, Godolphin. I love Appleby so much. I didn't bring this up last race, but I'll save it for this one.
Is it the chicken wings, or is it the French fries? Why do you love Applebee's?
God, that was a bad joke. I actually hate Applebee's. That is a disgusting restaurant.
Applebee's is terrible. I'm sorry for anyone who likes it.
And sorry to Mr. Applebee's. I know you were a subscriber until just now. No, Charlie Appleby, last 5 years in North American Grade 1 races, 25 starts, 12 wins. Now, keep in mind, twice last year, he went 1-2 in the Just a Game and the Diana Stakes. So really, he's 12 for 23 if you just take those two stats out. Charlie Appleby, as well as anybody, including Aidan O'Brien, knows what it takes to win with European horses in America. So I'm going to ride with Nation's Pride, a horse that won 4 straight, was looking solid as a 2-year-old, goes to Dubai, to Meydan, wins the Jumeirah Derby, then goes and wins the Newmarket Stakes. That race was only against 3 other horses. Doesn't matter. That race was impressive. They send him to the Kazoo Derby, which is the Kentucky Derby overseas, right? Desert Crown wins that. We've talked about how great Desert Crown is. The Desert Crown then goes to the Coral Eclipse Stakes after that in France. Nation's Pride was going there, and they saw that, and they went, never mind, we're going to Belmont. So Desert Crown went off and won that race. No surprise. Nation's Pride is doing well. So, listen, I love here. I'm sorry. I said Desert Crown. I meant Vadini. I'm so sorry. I did this with Aaron, too. I screwed up. He lost to Desert Crown. We're going to back this up. He lost to Desert Crown in the Kazoo Derby. No shame there. It looked like a horse in the Kazoo Derby that probably should come to America. I bet him in that race. He didn't get the job done. But now we're going to go here because Vadini won the Coral Eclipse Stakes in France, and they were like, we couldn't beat Desert Crown. We can't beat Vadini. They looked at who was in America and went, Emmanuel? Okay, let's go there. So here we are with Nation's Pride.
Yeah, I have Nation's Pride a second. I think this is the other horse that's really logical. I like the 8's price more, 12-1. That's why we're going on top there. But yeah, the 10 Nation's Pride makes a ton of sense. If you just look at the race 2 back, where Nation's Pride absolutely beat Huyamal pretty handily, 7 lengths, and then comes back and you see Huyamal was only 2.5 behind Desert Crown. I mean, again, in the Kazoo Derby, you can draw a line through that for the 10 as well and say, if you go back to that race 2 back, totally fits as the top pick here. I just like the 12-1 price more than I like the 5-1 price. So for me, that was a big differentiator. I'm going to stay with the European trend. I'm going to Stone Age as my 3rd pick here. It's Aidan O'Brien, Ryan Moore. Talked a lot about them last time. This horse looked great until going into the Kazoo Derby. Was 3.5-1 that day, the lowest of any of those 3 horses that we've talked about going into it. I believe was actually the second choice in that race behind Desert Crown.
He was.
I don't like the post. That's one of the main reasons that I'm putting this as my 3rd pick and not up there with the top 2, but does have some tactical speed, which is not all that normal for a European horse. And we're going 1.25 miles at Belmont. You do have a very, very long run up into that first turn. So you do have the time to be able to kind of make up a little bit of ground and get some position before you go into that first turn. And since you're going 2 turns at Belmont in these big sweeping turns, the last thing you want is 3 wide, 3 wide. That is very, very difficult to win with. So Ryan Moore's going to have to work out a trip. Horse is the favorite at 9-2. That's why I'm not going to have this horse higher up. But I feel like you kind of have to include all 3 of these because they are the 3 best Europeans that are coming over.
Yeah, Stone Age is my second choice. I don't think there's any other reason to mention it, to talk about them. All great points. So this is where we diverge. We agreed on the 8, the 10, and the 13. Now we split off. My 4th and final one, I'm going with the 6 Machete for Fabrice Chappé and Stéphane Pasquier. Yes, I practiced my French a little bit beforehand, but I can't practice my English. Maybe I should do that. We talked about Vadini. This is a horse that lost to Vadini each of his last 2 races, last 2 races. So you're taking a huge class drop from the French Derby, the prep for the French Derby, and the race before that, which are basically, you're talking about like Fountain of Youth Stakes, Florida Derby, Kentucky Derby is kind of like what he was doing there. They also, like Godolphin and Nation's Pride, said, let's not go to the Coral Eclipse and face Vadini again. Let's go somewhere else. So he shows up here. You're getting 20-1 on him, and I understand why. You're getting a European jockey coming in. That's a little concerning, but getting a nice price. Look at the breeding by my boy Charlie out of a Galileo mare. Does that sound familiar, Mike? It should. That's just Sister Charlie. That's her that's her exact breeding right there. So, man, this is why I shouldn't do blinkers off before I do Magic Mike. I used all my good stuff up there.
Seriously, man, you're just killing us here.
If you look at the best running for this horse, if you look at the firm running, so 2 back, got that firm running, going 1 mile and 1/8, finishes second to Vidini. That's the best time, the best effort behind Vidini. Before that was racing on synthetic when it was getting fast ground. That firm ground gets those nice win in the stakes, broke the maiden. Point is, the horse is looking for firm ground and should be able to get it in America. I understand if you have hesitations because of the jockey, because we're not getting an American in here, because the horse hasn't won on turf. I understand all those concerns, but I'm getting 20-1, and I think this horse is really sneaky, Mike.
I considered this horse for a while. My main issue is ticket structure. I don't think that you can use without using the 6 machete without using the 1.
The 1.
And so if I'm going to go with implementation and machete, all of a sudden I'm 5 deep, and I'm actually going to end up 6 deep here because I am going to use 1 U.S. runner. And if you've followed me, you know who I'm going to be using here. We'll get there in a second. But look, machete, the best race you have from 1-horse implementation was that race where machete won by a neck at 1 mile and 1/8. Implementation wants the ground, wants that 1.25 miles. You get John Velasquez up. This feels like one of those horses that if you're going to play the 6 and the 1 wins, you're going to be kicking yourself, because you had the right idea, just the wrong horse, right? And so for me, if you're playing the 6, you have to play the 1. And if you're playing the 10, the 8, and the 13, all of a sudden you're just saying, I'm going to hit the Euro button, Euro all, and that's what you're going to do to try and get through this race without having any type of opinion on it. And that's kind of where I said, okay, I'm going to take a stand. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to play the horses that are coming, not the horses that are coming out of the Great Britain races, not the French races. And that's kind of where I'm going to target my Euros for this spot. I'm going to use one American horse. The 12-horse limited liability is a horse I've talked about multiple times on this show now. I'm going to give limited liability one more shot. One of the stable ups, the third one I believe, was around the allowance race at Keeneland that limited liability won. That race came back to be a monster race. Limited liability came out of that race and went into the Grade 2 Pennine Ridge. Emmanuel walked the dog in that race, okay? I mean, no one made any ground up on Emmanuel. It's one of the main reasons I'm not using Emmanuel is because he's not going to get that same pace set up. I know a couple people in the chat mentioned Emmanuel here. Limited liability close ground. No one else did. And limited liability should like going 1.25 miles. I'm worried a little bit about the post position again with that 12 post, but I don't want to be sitting there on Saturday. And this horse is the one that is absolutely flying home and improved the exact way that I thought this horse would improve. And this time gets the pace set up. You have surprisingly amount of pace for a 1.25 mile race at Belmont here. So I think you get the pace set up today. Now, I don't love trying to be the better closer when you're facing Europeans. That often does not play well. That's my biggest concern with limited liability. But at 12-1, I'm willing to take a shot here. So I'm going to use 2 horses that are like, we're both using some prices here and then sprinkling in with the Europeans that we think have the best shot.
Yeah, and limited liability, a great points. Yeah, I have him as was up for that Keeneland race now, which is pretty fun. About Magic Mike Show 369, if you want to go back and see. We also have it clipped out on the YouTube channel too. You can see it separately. But it's the European angle in here. If this was all the American horses, all right, yeah, I think this horse would probably be way up there. But you're asking him to be better than Stone Age, to be better than the 8 horse, to be Royal Patronage, to be better than Machete.
Uh-oh, do we lose Magic or we lose me?
Oh, shoot. Am I not here anymore? Oh.
Nope, you're back now. It's
Sorry,
you?
It was me. Yeah, our
right.
internet's been weird too. Anyways, we can move on. My point is I don't hate it. You're getting 12 to...
Yeah, I'm getting the right price on a horse that I really like. And so that's why I got to include it.
All right, Mike. So with that note, with the internet crapping out, I think it's a sign because we go from graded stakes action down to the penultimate leg of the late pick 5 sequence at Belmont Park on Saturday, July 9th. And we're going to be turf spreading with New York breds. There's a dozen of them in here going 7 furlongs on the outer course. Where'd you go on top, buddy?
Oh, boy, let's take a swing. I didn't see the morning lines when I saw this. I'm putting the 3, Independent Paul, on top, sitting at 10-1 for Barry Schwartz. This is a Horatio DePaz first-time starter. He's sneaky, okay? He's like sneaky in a good way. First-time starters, 17%, $4.67 ROI. Turf sprints, 19%, $3 ROI. With Jose Ortiz, this Belmont meet, 44% with a $5 ROI. But the reason I really like this horse, first off, Jose Ortiz has been riding this turf course very, very well. Got a couple prices on the last couple weeks. Look at the workout tab. The last 3, Nothing here. Don't worry about it. 50 and 4, 51 flat, 51 and 4. Then that fourth back, 48 and 1. Then that fifth back, 47 and 4 out of the gate, 2 out of 53. There's some sandbagging going on here with this 3-horse, those last 3 workouts. There's a lot more speed in there than you think. I think this horse can be ready to fire right out of the gate at 10-1. So give me the 3-horse Independent Paul on top. Damn.
That's a great case for a horse I didn't use. Also looking at what I did catch my attention with Independent Paul was that DePaz and Jose Ortiz are almost 50% at Belmont Park right now. Like that's insane. 44% with 27 sample size. That's pretty good.
For a turf sprinting trainer with a horse that has the sneaky good workouts that you don't look at because they're no bullets and they're further back, you're going to get 8-1, 9-1. And if this horse goes off at 3-1, watch out. He's loaded. Like, but you should be able to get like 8-1 on this horse.
And there's from the dam side, there isn't a ton of turf pedigree, but street sense can overcome pretty much anything with that when turf sprinting. So, all right, listen, I'm already feel like I'm behind the 8 ball as I talk about my top pick, the 5 Feathers Road, 4-1. Now, a lot less sexy than what Mike just gave you. But listen, we got Linda Rice in here. It's turf sprinting, and clearly this is a horse that turf sprinting is best game. If you look at those 4 races at Aqueduct, you go, why did they try the dirt when it wasn't working? Well, Linda Rice didn't go down to Florida, and there's no turf racing in Aqueduct during that period of time. So that's why as soon as the turf course opened back up, UC finishes 3rd by a length. The winner was a Chad Brown horse. The runner-up Dream Point returns here. Last time out, 6 furlongs, firmer course, just misses by a head. We're kind of getting a balance in between. Was 2-1 favorite, 2 back, 9-1 last out. We're going to be right in the middle here. To me, that feels like this horse is going to break his maiden sooner than later. I got to use him. I know 4-1's not great, but he's going to get the job done soon, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, this horse burns more money than an 80-year-old in Vegas at a penny slot, though. I mean, like every single time that you get sucked back into Feathers Road because you have these efforts that are good enough to win, as long as no one else is that good in the field. And it feels like it's the same thing here, where you're going to either have the favorite or second choice, and Feathers Road is probably going to run second or third again. Like that's just kind of what it feels like. We've now had 9 races, 4 seconds, 2 thirds. I'm going to use my bullets elsewhere. I respect Feathers Road, and I agree with you. Eventually, Feathers Road will win. And you know what else? I will be a loser on that day when Feathers Road wins because I'm not going to chase this horse. Gone off as a favorite multiple times. And to me, when you have a horse that's consistently going off at sub 10-1 and has been a favorite 2-3 times, at that point, I'm not interested because you've been against the field before that you should beat and you did not get the job done. And so I just don't want to chase my money with that. A horse I am interested in chasing a little bit is the 7-horse Salt K. This was a Chad Brown horse. Manny Franco's getting the ride. You mentioned earlier how well they've been doing together. Been in 2 kind of tough maiden races. That first race at Aqueduct has Gulquist in it, major spin in the last race at Belmont. Both of those were supposed to be on the turf. Both of them rained off. This is an angle way back in the day we talked about all the time when a trainer keeps trying to get the horse on the turf and the horse runs well in the dirt. And we're still trying to get the horse on turf. The horse is better on turf, right? And here you have Chad Brown just kind of telling you, hey, I want turf for this horse. We should finally get it on Saturday, according to the forecast. I would want to be leaving the 7 Salt K out. So I'm using the 3 Independent Paul and the 7 Salt K as my 2 top picks.
Yeah, I love this horse. Don't love the price, but we were also taking shots earlier, and that's why I was like, I really don't mind going 7-2 and 4-1 with a couple picks in this spot. Chad Brown is great with the outer turf course and 7 furlongs. You talked about that last show, and yeah, you like the fact that the horse that was 3rd, beaten 7.5 lengths, but 3rd in that last race for Salt K did come back to win. It had to go down the maiden claiming level, but was still successful regardless to get the job done. Next up for me, I'm not looking at your ticket, so I'm assuming you used the 4 Frank's Art, correct? Christophe Clement, Joel Rosario?
Yeah, especially when Christophe Clement owns, I'm a little more interested. You don't see Christophe Clement as the owner very often in these spots. In this case, Frank's Art, he owns solely. He is the sole owner of this horse. So he is going to try and have this horse cranked, and he's going to try and have this horse placed well. He gets his main man, Joel Rosario, up. For my money, is probably the best turf sprinting trainer in New York right now. So I don't see how you don't use Frank's Art here at 8-1. I'm interested to see what the workout reports say tomorrow about a couple of these horses. But again, it's like, look, I respect Feathers Road, but I would rather take double the price on the 4 than half the price on the 5. And so I'm going to use Frank's Art. I'm going to end up 3 deep here. I am scared of the 12, which got mentioned in the chat, potentially going wire to wire with IRAD. I'm not sure if you use that horse, so I'm not looking at your ticket either right now. But the outside draw is what kind of kept me off that horse. I do think there's going to be some other inside speed here. So I ended up going 3, 4, 7. hopefully we can catch a price on either the 3 or the 4, one of the 2 first-time starters.
Well, maybe you can convince me to go with the 3 instead of my last pick here. They have the same odds, but I went with the 1 Dream Point as my last one here. Two back, he came very close to winning over this course and distance. The turf was softer, but we'll see what happens from there is supposed to be a little bit of rain from what I can tell in the morning. We'll see how that changes things. But it seems like as a 4-year-old, kind of like with Feathers Road, is woken up a little bit in terms of getting closer to winning. The numbers aren't improving, but was second by a head, was a length ahead of Feathers Road, who I'm using. You're not. And then, didn't close as well last time going 6, but now we're going back to 7, so stretching out longer and getting that wider turn. So I guess my question for you should be, the way that I structured my ticket using Feathers Road, using Dream Point also is a correct move. Is that correct? Based off of that? No?
I mean, why use 1 career maiden when you can use 2, right?
That's true. 0 for 16, by the way, if you're not looking at PPs. 0 for 16, this horse.
Here's the thing. You know what Dream Point is, okay? Does Dream Point's best race win this race?
So I'm going to use the 3 independent, Paul.
Okay, good choice.
Thank you for. I was like, Mike could probably dumb this down for me real quick. Oh, there we go. Yes, we're going to use it to make a quick little change here. Get rid of the 1. I wasn't that in love with him. I was more like, if I like the 5, I got to use. Yes, we'll stick with the 3, Mike. That your top choice, and if he wins, all credit to you for it.
I appreciate that. There's just some horses where it's one thing if Dream Point is run 16 times and when we see 8 stakes winners in the past performances, right? But it's like Dancing with Daffodils. It's these middling New York turf sprinters that are in there. It's not the gangbuster Chad Brown horses, the Clement horses that turn out to be stakes winners. And so you got to kind of take a look at that. And if you have 16 tries and you started out with all of those maiden claimings, and then you stepped up and you just haven't been able to get the job done at either, to me, you need more than 10 to 1, especially when you have an option like the 3 horse there who's sitting there as a really unique new shooter that is more of the unknown versus the known quantity.
I think everybody in the chat got excited about that 3 horse. We'll see what kind of price we end up getting. Still hope for it's a big field. We'll still get 10 to 1. Do you want to talk about the 12 real quick? Neither of us used. To me, it was the post. Well, you did talk about it. It was kind of the post thing for me too.
Yeah, it's post and price for me. We've had trouble holding at 6 furlongs. Every time we've gone 6 furlongs, we're going 7. I think that 1 extra furlong is a little bit of a problem. So I don't like Haymack It's Jack going 7 and we're going 6. There's also other speed in there that I think is going to be an issue. So when you combine the other speed with the distance and the fact that, look, this horse is going to get respect. The trainer is a good trainer. This is the thing. It's Ortiz is riding for a good barn. The barn's shipping in here, but it's not, we've seen this a couple times where you've had this no-name barn and one of the Ortiz gets up and they just air. This is the 3rd time in New York. This isn't the first time. And that to me makes a big difference here because it's not like, the first call went right to Irad. He jumped aboard. Horse goes gate to wire, right? This is the 3rd race. You've already kind of seen that this is not an easy level for him to get past. And the 7 furlongs is an issue versus the 6 he's been going the last 2.
Thanks for covering for me. Let's move on. Final leg of the late pick 5 at Belmont on Saturday, July 9th. Race 11. If you're far and you're...
If you got this far and you're alive, they didn't make it easy for you, that's for sure. This one is a race where I kind of struggled with. I chalked out a little bit here. The 2 Wesley Ward horses just make a ton of sense here. That's the 5 Sheriff Blanco, who is dropping down in class out of state bred, $80,000 N1X allowances. Was able to break its maiden in a state bred $85K allowance, dropping down to $30,000 and non-winners of 2 here from a claiming perspective, and just fits like crazy. I mean, so you know that you're going to get the lead with the 5 horse Sheriff Blanco, or at least be very, very close to it. So you got to respect the heck out of that, especially with Wesley Ward training. Second off the bench for a 4-year-old too. It's a little scary that this horse is making the drop now and not at Saratoga, because a lot of times the ownership group will want to win at Saratoga and we're just a week away. But the drop still makes a ton of sense from that perspective. So we are going to use Sheriff Blanco as one of the 2 horses for me, or one of the 3 horses for me. I'm going to use the other Ward here in After 5 as well. After 5 makes a lot of sense. Just if you go back to those races at Belmont when it broke its maiden and opened $90,000, this horse is also respected enough to run 3rd behind Golden Pal in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. So you had a very nice race, a very early career. And again, both of these Wards, my main concern is, why are we in for a tag? That is the biggest issue. Why are we going right down to 30 and why aren't we doing it at Saratoga? But to me, the 5 Sheriff Blanco and the 6 After 5, who are in gates 4 and 5 and really make it confusing, are the 2 horses that I think make the most sense here. I think we lost Magic again on the freeze because he's now just staring off into space over here. So I'm just going to kind of keep talking here. For me, the third horse on was the 11 horse BC Glory Days. This is kind of a sneaky horse, but we're going to the Rob Atras barn. It's going to be the best barn that he has been in since ever. Terra Nova and Handle are both good, but not quite at Atras's level. And Atras is a better turf sprinting trainer. I like the fact that off the claim, we're going right back to turf sprinting. If you dig deep enough, we've got a good effort at Belmont going 7. We've got a good effort at Saratoga going 5.5. His best buyer, almost best buyer, is a 2-year-old, just behind his best buyer, was going a mile with his Belmont turf. I think that the turf kind of fits for BC Glory Days, and I think there's enough speed for him to try and run him down late.
Thank you again for covering for him. I don't know if you heard me thank you the last time, but thank you again. I came in right when you mentioned what I noticed is that the 5 Sheriff Bianco is in the 4, and after 5, the 6 horse is in the 5. It's very confusing. Mm-hmm. I went after 5 on top with Sheriff Bianco second. I used the wards. It's very chalky. I'm with you. The third horse that you talked about, I didn't use, but to me, this race beyond those 2 wards is kind of a crapshoot. For me, I went with horses that I thought would want to go fast early and maybe try and take a gate to wire, and that kind of led me to the 3. He's a Stone Cold Fox. A horse that, for the first 3 starts against New York breds, 2 good efforts. The other one you can forgive, a little bit bumped at the break and then just completely quit out, but rebounded nicely to get the maiden broke at Aqueduct. We're dropping in for a claiming tag because I don't know. I don't quite understand this. A little bit of precipitous drop. I feel like they understand this horse probably doesn't have a ton of value. The 30K claiming spot right now. Get him dropped back in and get his confidence back up after losing pretty badly those last 2 starts, Mike.
Yeah, it's a weird spot. Don't love the jockey. Not Rodriguez isn't terrible, but I just don't love the fact that we didn't try and get someone bigger than this. The Brown Barn is ice cold right now, 0 for 20 at the meet, just 6% off this type of layoff. So it's one of those where I think he's going to be a threat early and a threat to Sheriff Bianco from a pace perspective, but probably not around late. I actually went the opposite direction that you did. I said, I want to figure out who can kind of close into this because I think there might be quite a bit of pace up front. And the 1 horse, Umbria, was the other one that I thought was kind of interesting here, who's cutting back from mile distance, or from longer distances, ran a mile and 16th last time we saw on turf, has a couple of miles in there as well, shows tactical speed going longer, which is what I'm looking for on these turf sprint cutbacks, because you got to be in range. You can't be a million back. So I have a little interest in the 1 as well. That was the next one on. So if you want to push my ticket out a little bit, the horses that I left off, if you want to extend my ticket out, actually I'll say it at the end, but the one horse was one of those that almost made the ticket.
How deep did you end up going in this leg?
I went 5, 6, 11. I'm intrigued enough by the Atras barn switch and the price I think I'm going to get on the 11 that to me that is worth the extra ticket cost, especially since I'm only at $54. Like if BC Glory Days is able to win this, it's going to balloon the sequence. So a lot of people are going to hit 5, 6 and move on. So if you can find the horse outside of the 5 and the 6, you're going to create a unique ticket structure. So that's why I'm trying to single early, see if we can get this horse here. Again, like the 1 horse, if you want to juice my ticket up from $54 to $72, the 1 horse, the logical horse that you can add on. I'm not sure I'm going to structure it yet for Saturday for the Somobombs. If I'm going to single the 10, if I'm going to go 4-10 in that first leg. The 3 in the second leg is probably a horse I'm going to add 15 to 1. I know Dennis mentioned it in the chat with Irad aboard, who I think can close. So there's some other horses I think are interesting in the sequence, but try to keep the ticket as reasonable as possible for the show.
The last one that I used, I'll go through real quick, is the 4 horse Giramonte. Almost I made 1 for 13. But got the job done when dropping down to maiden 40. Eric Cancel, when he got in the saddle, seemed to really would do. You see, first time aboard, was first off the claim, brought back up to protected ranks at Saratoga, misses by a neck. Next time out, second by 3 lengths again at Saratoga. Then drops down for 40K at Belmont to get the win. The waters got really deep there after that. Now we drop back down.
Now he's dropping back
too much. Go ahead.
Yeah, dropping back in with her friends. That was the key, right? And this is one of those where when you look at Giamatti, and I looked at this horse for a while, and Leah Giamatti is the trainer here for Giamatti, which is interesting because this horse was claimed. But she's been struggling. She's 0 for 16, 3 seconds, 4 thirds. She's having a little bit of a placement issue. It seems like she's overshooting the moon here with some of the horses that she's dropping in or placing. And this is a case where I think this horse is actually back in with the friends, right? Like this is third off the layoff as a 4-year-old. I think you can make a legit case for the 4 sitting here at 10 to 1. It's one of those I stared at for a while because she'll get the setup as well if there is as much pace as I expect in this race.
All right, we're going to try and wrap this up real quick, Mike. My internet's still fuzzy here. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to put the banner up now. There's our tickets. I'll go ahead and read it out, but I'm going to go 4, 9, 10 with 2, with 6, 8, 10, 13, with 3, 4, 5, 7, with 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a $96 ticket. Mike, you're a little cheaper than I am.
Yeah, I would spend $54. I'm going to go 10 with 2, 5, 7, with 8, 10, 12, 13, with 3, 4, 7, with 5, 6, 11. If you're looking to add horses to my tickets, the 3 horse in the second leg would be a horse I'd add. The 3 horse in the third leg would be one I'd look at adding. And in the last leg, I would consider adding the 4 horse and the 1 horse as well. So those would be kind of those secondary adds if you want to spend a little more than 54. If I went more than the single in the first leg, the 1, McCulloch, and the 4 were the 2 that interested me as well.
If you want to play consensus ticket, $9. I did the math. You and I have a good consensus. Good luck if you're playing. We're going to get out of here before my internet shits out again. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back on Monday. Until next time, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this weekend, everybody. Oh, join us we'll be live Saturday too, I'm sure. So join us, follow us on Twitter. We'll take care of all that. Okay, bye.
This has been a presentation of RacingDudes.com, your destination for all things horse racing and sports betting. Whether you want free winners, expert insider picks, up-to-the-minute trackside weather reports, or podcasts and videos for bettors of all skill levels, never make another wager without visiting the Racing Dudes. First,